Welcome back to the Business Book Challenge. My name is Maria Medina with the Coaching Network, and today we're going to be discussing key person of influence. I'd like to invite my guest, Alex, to introduce himself. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey, Maria, thank you for the invitation to be here. My name is Alex Dumas. I am a keynote speaker, a leadership expert. I'm based out of North Carolina, and I love this book. It's made a major impact on my career, my mindset, and I'm happy to share with your audience. So, all that said and done, let's dive in. Let's have some fun.
Thank you so much for the recommendation. I actually met Alex through a Facebook post. It was a Facebook group that we both belong to. I made an announcement, hey, I need some speakers, some book recommendations, who can talk about certain books that I haven't heard of. And this was one that I'm surprised I hadn't read because I talk about it quite a lot all the time with my clients and just my connections. And we spoke about it last week with my other guests. We were discussing a different book, which was storytelling, how to create your story. And they have a company which is called the Daily Drip, and they talk all about creating thought leaders, which is exactly what this book is about, is creating that person of influence that people go to for certain information that relates to their jobs. But then ultimately, when you become that person of influence, is becoming that person that people come to for everything, not even what your role is, but they just come for advice, they come for recommendations, they come for everything other than your business and business results from it. So I think the best way to go through this book, now that I've done the little summary that they can read in the blog, is to go through those 5 P's, because there's some really good concepts in the book, but often once you have those concepts and you have that information, it's a little bit hard to put it into practice because you're thinking, I know this, I'm doing this, am I doing it right? So, one of the first things that the book mentions is that pitch proposition. And I know a lot of people struggle here because often they don't want to niche down, or they don't want to alienate people by how they're pitching, or they overshare. What's a good way for somebody to really develop that pitch so that it's impactful?
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that to light because that was definitely a challenge for me. It's one of those things in the coaching space. There's this there's two schools of thought, right? Don't niche and then niche. Then you get the niche, but don't niche, right? And it's like, well, I started looking at it like, well, what do I specialize in? Like, what are the recurring themes around my career, or whether it's been in speaking and coaching or just through corporate life of, what are the things that I'm really excel at? For myself, it'd be sales, it'd be customer service, it would be empathizing with people and leading people in a powerful way, right? I've got a decade of nonprofit management experience, customer service, disaster recovery work, things like that. And through all these things, I found that people rally to me because I'm excited, I'm enthusiastic about things. And how's that transfer as a skill? Well, not every leader can do this effortlessly, or I'm going to say mindlessly, but it's just not a natural, organic thing. So before I work with teams, I work with organizations that want to create a winning team culture. Now, who doesn't want to win? Right? So a pitch like that is easy for me. It's like, hey, I want to help you guys win. I want to help you maximize your talents. You can gain and retain your top talent so that you have employees that love doing work with you, and you have clients that love to do business with you as well. Tell me more. I'm interested in that, right? So the pitch part about it can feel intimidating, it can feel scary, but I would invite you as a viewer, as a listener, what are the gifts? What are the talents that you have right now that you know that are inherently true? It's not something you're fabricating, you're not exaggerating things, but you're really tying in these inherent gifts to tangible skills and tangible results that people can anchor to and honestly, you make it easy for them to say yes to you. You make it easy for them to have a clear picture of, wow, I want to work with this person because they actually get who I am. And those are only real questions that a client has in their mind is, one, does this person get who I am? Do they care about me? Do they understand what I'm going through? And two, can they help me? If I can answer these two questions, then there's a higher probability that we'll be able to do some work, or at least they may be able to refer, or they might I'll at least be top of mind for them when a challenge comes up. and they're ready.
This speaks so well to that book that I mentioned previously, which is Building a Story Brand, where I was speaking with the founder of that organization, and we were talking about how yes, you are the expert, so focus on your niche as your skills, develop those, hone those, and promote those. But then you said, who doesn't want to win? And I really like that because you're making it about them. You're making it about what do they want, what do they want to accomplish, and what do they want to get out of this relationship with you, which is the ultimate goal. You're trying to help people, especially in the coaching arena. You're trying to help people, you're trying to get them from A to B. And how can they visualize that if you don't tell them what you're trying to do for them? So building a successful team, retaining employees, that's what you're trying to achieve with them. And I find that I do similar things with my coaching, whereby I'm saying, what do you want before I pitch you? Saying these are my skills, but what is it that you actually want to achieve, so that we can see if there's some synergy in this relationship and my skills can get you there. And I think that's why a lot of my clients send me referrals and they're comfortable with that, because they know I'm not just going to say yes to everybody. I'm not everybody's coach. I'm working with the people that I know my skills are going to help, and that the conversation is going to flow and they're going to get to where they need to get, because that's ultimately the goal for them to achieve what they want to achieve. Otherwise, they're not getting what they want from the relationship. Now that they've established their pitch, they know what they're trying to sell. Sometimes you get a little bit of analysis paralysis when it comes to that publishing portion of the equation. Am I right? You're like, I have all this information, I have all this value, I just want to share it all, and then you share nothing. So how do you get a little bit organized there?
Google Docs galore.
Right? To-do list, to-do list, to-do list. How do you get organized in that aspect, and how do you pick what to publish, when to publish, how often to publish?
For me, I a lot of it is just on the feel of things, and then I do have a regular cadence of sorts. I don't necessarily schedule things out. I don't use softwares, and I'm not knocking anybody who does that. If you need to do that, if you are, if that supports you and helps your business, go for it. I'm not knocking that at all. For me, I'd like to look for what inspires me, right? What's catching my eye, and then how do I tie it into a relevant message? I do a daily 3-minute podcast, so that's content right then and there all the time, and I'm always finding inspiration with the publishing aspect, right? Get the book right behind me, and then I was fortunate enough to contribute to a multi-author book earlier this year, and this is a result from reading the book Key Person of Influence, because I had thought about writing for a long time. I thought about what would be really interesting for me to write about. I'm named after the author, my full name Alex Dumas. Like at some point, it was I was going to write something, and the gentleman approached me. He it was just the right invitation, the right time, and it was just a nice entry point for me to just share some things about my story and also the insights of my journey of what has led me to speak and led me to coaching, and being able to leverage that for more speaking opportunities, right? And just thinking about, for those of you who are thinking about publishing things or becoming a writer or anything like that, even if it's articles, now not necessarily looking at it like, oh my goodness, I can't wait for the checks to come in. That may happen, but how can you strategically use this book as a way to get you in doors that maybe weren't open before, right? Now I can attach to my name, Alex Dumas, international best-selling author. That creates a different kind of listening for somebody versus, hey, I'm Alex. I'm a this or I'm a that. It's like, okay, that's nice. All right, author. Okay, you have to take some time to think about what you're writing, right? You have to do some research potentially. You have to have some level of expertise in this subject, this topic, and organizations, associations, they want to bring in those people. They want to like, hey, you're a real thought leader now. So come teach us, come share those thoughts. We want to hear those original things versus a copy pasted quote from Simon Sinek or somebody. Right? I don't want to like name drop, but you know what I mean, just like someone else's thoughts. No, we want to hear your thoughts. We want to have your real look and POV of the world, and whether you want to publish that daily, whether that's a weekly thing, whether that's a monthly thing. I think just different opportunities you can get creative with that serve you and also will serve your audience. And that's what I tend to do.
I like that you said passion because ultimately passion is what's going to determine, as you mentioned, how much research you do into it, how your opinion and what you're getting out of it, what you can add to the conversation. Because I do like it when people share the quotes, but then they add something to it. You know, like there's some powerful quotes out there, and I see people just sharing the quote willy nilly. But if you have somebody that actually puts the quote up and says, hey, this is what I think of this quote, this is what this quote means. What do you think? Strike that conversation by building value and starting that conversation with your audience to build that engagement. And I like that you mentioned, you know, you don't have systems. I have systems in place because the book touches upon that, and they talk about building those systems, building your team for what works for you. What growth are you looking for? What support are you going to need there in the future? Do you need automation? Do you need somebody to, you know, you create the main idea and then somebody else drafts a copy and then you have editing? What does that look like in the future when you're publishing? Because you want scalability, but always focus on what's working for me, what's going to work, where do I want to be? And you need a clear strategy of where you are to where you're going to be able to determine that, which then takes me into outside of the 5 Ps. It's that processes and people portion that they mentioned in the book. How can you start to determine or set time aside to say, okay, this is where I want to be and this is where I am now? What processes do I need in place? What people do I need in place? Because a lot of people struggle with seeing that forward vision and they just focus on the immediate need right now. And they're buying, purchasing software, hiring people for the need right now. And they don't think, hey, how is this going to serve me in 3, 5, 10 years? Is this scalable? Is there something that they can look at in the processes while they're developing these 5 Ps to help them be a little bit more sustainable in the future?
That's a great question. I think part of that can look at the evidence from the past of what have I invested in already. Am kind of doing your own internal temperature check of like if you're coming from a place of like, oh, I gotta have this thing, and like there's just a little bit of fear, a little anxiety to it. That might be a good indicator to be like, you know what, wait, do I really need this? Do this is really useful? If there's things that I'm a pretty um, energetic person, right? That's my approach to things. So like if this feels right, if this smells right, if it just like passes a smell test with me, then I want to invest in it. I want to be a part of it, and I know that I'll get some value from it, whether it quote unquote monetizes, materializes. I think for me, what's worked has been just slowing down and looking at where do I want to go, right? I'm always kind of keeping the big picture in mind. And it might be something as simple as Canva, like, you know, I want to create some graphics. Oh, this actually could make me help some videos too. Okay, now it's like an extra bonus. I can actually do more with it than I originally thought, especially as they've added some more features through podcasting tools, right? Look at the right microphones. If I'm looking at a computer, all right, what in it can I use? All right, this is going to help me get this software. Is going to help me. Is going to be a faster speed. Is going to allow me to do the work I want to do quicker, faster, easier. And I think that's what most entrepreneurs are always looking for, right? What's the kind of shortcut to optimizing what their end goal, their end game is. And I just look at it from this place of, all right, these processes can work, and then I'm always thinking to myself, who's available to me that can help me, because I don't want to learn everything. I don't want to actually do everything by myself. I wrote in the book, in my book chapter, as a leader I can do anything, but I don't have to do everything. And once I started realizing that and letting that go, Maria, like just the way, just the freedom of, oh, I can be creative, I can do the things that I'm really skilled at and that I want to do, and I'm least a better work that actually produces better results for clients because they can feel that too. They can sense it. Like if I'm writing something on LinkedIn, like wow, they're really engaged with it. I'll get the comments and the engagement because they can sense that, oh, this is coming from a place where I'm interested in, not just all right, well, it's Tuesday, I have to like put out a thing. it's not like that.
And I think that comes from analyzing and being mindful of your processes. Like, for example, I recently met this guy, and all he does is, I'll give him a shout out because he's a great guy. His name's Brandon, and he's the healthy data guy. And he does CRM consultation. And all he does is he goes into your business and he says, hey, what do you need in order for your business to function CRM wise? What type of system do you need? What can we implement on there? And he was showing me a product recently, and I was looking at it and I was thinking, you know what, this is excellent. Like, I want to get it. But I took that moment to pause and I said, okay, let me look at it for the next 2 to 3 weeks. And every time I'm doing something and it crops up that if I had the system, I could have done it faster, I'm going to make a note. And if I make enough of those notes in the next 2 to 3 weeks, it means I need the system. If I just make it sporadically once a week and not even that much, do I really need this system? And it's the same as well when you were talking about Canva. Does it have add-ons that, I need it for one thing, but maybe I can potentially in the future, I can use it for other things. And then potentially, then eventually I can hand it down to one of my employees. I can delegate. Can I delegate that account? Can I give it to somebody else to do these things? Let's get back to the 5 Ps and talk a little bit about product, because just as much as people get stuck with their pitch, they get stuck with their actual product offering. And a lot of the time, again, you see this where they're over analyzing, what should I offer? Do I do a book? Do I do these workshops? Do I do them in person? Do I offer online courses? And I'm talking a little bit from the coaching perspective because I know that you'll have that experience there as well. How can they really analyze, these are my product offerings, and then maybe these are some additional product offerings that I want to look into? And how do they get into that really specific, hey, this is my offering, this is what I'm going out with? Do they start with one? Do they try some out? What would your recommendation be?
Yeah, I've done all the above with testing things out, the spaghetti to the wall approach, and that was fun. That was useful. It's like, all right, I got some data from that, but I think one of the things that could be very helpful for an entrepreneur, whatever phase of the game you are, but I'll speak to someone who's maybe more of a beginner, just venturing into their business. I would invite you to really look at listening to your people, listening to the people who engage with you with the things you're posting. What are the questions that they're asking? Are there recurring themes, right? Just really paying attention to those little things and starting to see, like, oh, people have been asking me about this. They've been asking me about this type of way of resilience training, or if I'm speaking from a stage and I'm having Q&A time with an audience. If there's a couple of questions that are like keep coming back up, we're like, all right, you know what? I could actually create something from that, right? So I think more there's more opportunity out there, that once we kind of get out of the way of like trying to build things all the time and just kind of slow down, pay attention to what people are saying, that's going to give us the clues of, all right, I was thinking about making this 90-day thing, and like actually what would serve this audience is like maybe a 30-day package, right? Maybe a 2-week thing, or maybe somebody who needs a longer support, who needs more one-on-one offerings. They need more templates and tools, or maybe somebody's just like, you know what, I want to show up empty on a call, right? So it also depends on you. What's your business? Who are you talking to, right? So going back to the pitch, right? Who are the people that you want to connect with? I'm working with leaders. I want to work with organizations. So their needs are different from maybe a solopreneur. I've worked with both, and a 3-month program is not going to be useful for this one group, and the 12-month one is not going to serve this audience either. And the level of engagement, right? If it's virtual, is it in person? Do they need me to be on site? Do they need me? We can get to a whole bunch of things like that. But it's really, I would say, paying attention to what your people are saying. Make it easy for yourself, and then make it easy for them, because they're asking for it. Now all you have to do is just build the box, right? Create the thing, go to Santa's workshop, phew, and offer it, invite them to it. And it's something that they already want, they're already excited about. Make business easy for yourself. You don't sell. This is one from one of my mentors. He says, don't sell hamburgers to vegans. And this is not like a vegan attack, like, oh my God, Alex, you're anti-vegan. No, it's just the mentality of that. You don't sell some people that they don't need or they don't want.
Yeah, and that's the key to any economics. And it's, you can't sell something that's not in demand. And I've had clients that come to me and they say, hey, I have this one product or service that sells incredibly well, but I hate doing it. I would much rather do this other project and this other product that I enjoy more. And I said, well, how much of that product do you sell in comparison to the other? Well, maybe a tenth of it. But so is that going to make you the money that you need in order to continue to do what you love? And obviously, the answer is often no. So I say, well, then look at it as a gateway. You're selling this product to allow you to do the other product that you love on a tenth of a level from it, but you're still able to supply, you're still able to have those liberties in your business to run your business. And just because you don't like somebody, you don't like doing something, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. There might be just a different way for you to do it. So figure out what is it about this product in particular that you don't like doing, that it's so high demand, and how can you fall in love with it again. And I recently, speaking to what you said about asking your clients, asking your customers and your potential leads about what they want. I had a workshop that I wanted to run, and I said, this is going to be a full day workshop. We're going to do 8 hours. And a lot of the feedback that I was getting was, I can't take from my ideal client. They're like, I can't take time off. And I was like, I should have known that, because my time management workshops are my most popular ones. And so I said, okay, would you go to a 2 hour workshop? And the 90% of them were like, yeah, I can make 2 hours. I can't do 8, but I can make 2. And that's where my Get Ready workshop came from, where I grabbed an 8 hour workshop. I narrowed it down to 2 hours. And I said, this is going to be hard work for you, but you're going to get it all done in 2 hours. And there's no follow up after that. And this is what you want. And it's been so successful that I had to relaunch additional dates for that. So listen to your audience, but also ask your existing clients, why did you hire me? Why are you my clients? So that I can pitch to other people. And part of that is getting out there and sharing your message, which takes us to the profile portion of the 5 Ps, which is getting on podcasts, getting published, sharing on other PR platforms. What's a good way for people to start getting connected? And we shared initially, like, how we met was just a Facebook group, and that was a way to create visibility. There's networking groups out there. What are some tips you can share with people for them to start building that profile?
Yeah, for anyone really looking to make that difference, I would say social media, key way, right? There's two ways of using social media. You can use social media for what it is, just the social aspect, staying in tune with the latest trends, talk about this hashtag. There's nothing wrong with that. Or I can look at it as a filter for who am I looking for, what audience can I serve, and who are the people who can connect. It's all right. You just drop them. Who are the people who can connect me with the individuals I want to be around? So that might be different groups. That might be, and within those groups, starting to pay attention. Like, hey, who are the people who are posting? And because we can have like a whole hour discussion about different groups. People are like, oh, this is spammy. This is stupid. Like, no, no, no. You're just not paying attention. You're looking at this one thing. You're not seeing like, oh, this person like posts the same thing in these like 10 different groups that I'm in, right? So that either will encourage me to reach out to them or be like, yeah, you know what, this isn't really something valid. And just using your tools, right? There's this thing called Google. For me, I look for call for speakers, right? And just like leadership conferences, 2024, 2025, whatever year it is, and or in my state, North Carolina, what's going on here. So I'm staying in tap with groups, with associations that I want to connect with, and then sharing things that I would believe are relevant for them, right? Of, hey, here's 3 tips of being a better communicator. Here's what I learned about leadership today. It can be anything, and doesn't it's not me coming in there with the wrecking ball pitch like, hey, you gotta hire me because your life's falling apart without me. No, it's just like, how can I add value in communities first, right? We're community driven folk, right? As humans, we need each other. So why would I not want to be a person of value, a person of influence that makes a difference and can do that in the right strategic crowds that will benefit me and benefit them.
And that takes us into the partnerships portion, which is finding other key people of influence and connecting with them, partnering with them so that you get access to their audiences and they get access to yours. How do you start building those partnerships to build value for them, to build value for yourself? And how do you seek out those partnerships?
Yeah, I think it's kind of piggybacking off of what I just said. You become a person of value first, right? People will gravitate to you, right? It happened in my life where invitations just come out the woodwork, not because I'm doing something, right? Yes, there's work. Yes, there's action I'm taking, but I think for the most part, most people like be like, man, Alex is a good guy. I want somebody to be like, I want to be a name that someone will speak highly of when I'm not there and I don't get any value or any monetized thing from it, right? Just today, right? We're as we're recording this episode, uh, a peer put out an article, tagged me in it, just expressing gratitude as we're here in Thanksgiving week in the U.S. It's like, I didn't ask them to do that. That's a beautiful thing. I just thank you, right? Just a wonderful acknowledgement, and that is a result of me. I'm constantly acknowledging people, so I'm always looking for the gold. I'm going for the gold, as they say, where I want to look for what is that thing that somebody does. I want to highlight and showcase people, and then I don't need anything from anybody. This is just something that I do that is fulfilling for me.
I think two quotes came up as you were saying that. And one was people will forget what you said, but they won't forget how you made them feel. And then it was through this video series that I had the opportunity to meet Bob Berg, one of the authors of The Go Giver. And his famous quote is people do business with people they know, like, trust. And we always add that value at the end because people do business with people they know, like, trust, and value. So, what value are you bringing to those relationships? And what is making them think of you as that key person of influence that they have to come to, that they want to have on your video series, on your podcast, that they want to share a blog post with? Who are you? How are you making yourself that key person of influence? Alex, thank you so much for joining me here today. If anybody has additional questions or would like to carry on the conversation, what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, the best way you can connect with me is on LinkedIn. So it's my name, Alex Dumas, AlexDumas, and you can stay tapped in with me on my website, speakeralexdumas.com. And I'm a real person. You'll likely get a voice note from me or a video message from me. So there's no bots, there's no androids behind this. Is me. I'm a real guy. So pay attention to the voice and you'll hear it. And I'd love to connect with you and see how I can serve.
Awesome. Thank you again. And please join us next week for additional discussions on the Business Book Challenge.